So how many of you do you see around you conflicts happening? Now, maybe let's start with a quick description of what a conflict is. Yeah, a conflict happens when two persons or two parties, they have different opinions, and then they want certain thing done a certain way, right? So if you see there's, for example, two persons fighting, yeah, for example, brother and sisters fighting, or maybe let's say in a work environment, yeah, the two colleagues fighting, or there can be a conflict between an employee and the boss, right? These are all different types of conflicts. Yeah. So who has seen who of you have actually noticed there are conflicts around you? Can you either raise your hand or can you type inside the chat box? Yeah, if you have seen conflicts around you. Okay, Wei Hen, thank you. Yeah, so you have seen conflicts around you. Yeah, Kun Ming, thank you. Okay, Crystal, yes. Okay, Regine, thank you. Okay, good. Yeah, so if you really pay attention to what is around us, yeah, you will notice we do see conflicts quite often. It can be conflicts we ourselves are involved in, or it can be conflicts that we see other people are involved in. Right. So now for us now, our whole program about essential skills is about how to equip everyone here when we go to work in the future. Right. So how do we handle these kind of situations? Now, conflicts, of course, it is not limited to just what we see in the workplace. In our personal lives, we will also see a lot of conflicts. Right. So what we discuss today, what we go through today, is something that not only you can use in the workplace in future, but also in your day-to-day life, right? Even in your university life, you will encounter different types of conflicts as well. Yeah. All right, let me move on to the next slide. So this is just a quick introduction of myself. Yeah, as Mr. Ha just now has done a brief introduction. So you can see here, these are some of the roles that I have served in, and different companies I've served in. Now, there are actually quite a number of different industries. Yeah, so I assume everyone knows Shell. Can you have hands up if you have heard of this company called Shell? Okay, thank you, Wei Hen. Zinchi, thank you. Ubong, thank you. Okay, so I think most have heard of this company, right? So now, next question I want to ask. Between Shell and other brands, so how many of you, when you when you need to fill petrol, do you prefer to go to Shell compared to other companies? Anyone? Okay, so most of you prefer other brands. So can you type in the chat box? So what other brands that you go for when you need to pump petrol? Petronas. Okay. We have a lot of Petronas supporters. Okay, good. All right, thank you. Zinchi is a Shell supporter. Okay, thank you. I will need to go and tell my ex-colleagues and ask them to thank you. Caltex. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Shell, of course, everyone knows this is an oil and gas company. Accenture is a consulting company. Standard Chartered, of course, is a bank. And Sega, I think most of us know what Sega is. Anyone do not know what Sega is? And what is the most famous character from Sega? Can you type in the chat box? What is the most famous character from Sega? Sonic. Yes, very good. All right, thank you. Yeah, so I used to work in Go Game, and Go Game is a subsidiary of Sega. Now that is a mobile game company. Okay, anyone here still playing Clash of Clans? Anyone playing Clash of Clans in this room? Can you type Clash in the chat box? Anyone playing Clash of Clans? Or now everyone move on to do Genshin Impact already? Okay, nobody playing Clash of Clans. Oh, okay, that is surprising. Yeah, so and Axis is an e-commerce company. Yeah, so I've been in these different industries. So, and it is very interesting for me to observe under different types of companies, there are different types of conflicts, right? Whether it's a big company or it's a small company, no matter what industry it is, there will be conflicts that we see in the workplace. Yeah, and you see here, this is a book I've written. So this is the book is titled "Every Employee an Entrepreneur." Yeah, so this is a quick background about myself. So I look forward today to share with you much more about conflict management and how to resolve conflicts. Now, first thing, let's talk about what conflict is. Now, other than what I've talked about just now, yeah. So, any of you, what do you, in your opinion, yeah, in your opinion, what is a conflict? Yeah, can you type in the chat box? What do you think is a conflict? How do you define a conflict? Yeah, can you type in the chat box? How do you define a conflict? Okay, disagreement among team members. Yes, very good. Yeah, when you can't agree on how to do something, right? For example, let's say you're working on a project at school, right? Some things you should do this way, some things should be a different way. Okay, thank you, Esther. Yeah, Nestor says problems. Yes, certainly conflicts will be a type of problem. Yeah, okay, different in interest. Very good, Wei Hen. When different peoples, they want different things, right? So then, and these two things, it may be conflicting things, right? They have different goals. Yeah, so then of course you end up in a conflict. Yeah? Because if you try to fulfill one person, you cannot fulfill the other person. So these two persons or these two parties come into a conflict. Okay, very good. Kunmeng, ideologies. Sometimes conflicts come down to values, right? What you believe in. Right? And sometimes if it is a difference in ideology, it can be a conflict that is very difficult to resolve. Because it is something that you truly believe in your heart. When people want to change your mind, it is not easy to change. Yeah? You want to change somebody else's mind, it is also very difficult. Somebody want to change your mind, it is also very difficult. A clash of interests, arguments. Alex, thank you. Communication problem. Communication problems can lead to conflicts, and sometimes it can be a cause for conflict, yeah, where we have misunderstanding. So certainly when we are able to communicate better, it will help us to resolve conflicts. Right, thank you. So very good. Yeah, so now conflicts, you can see, is always about two or more parties having different objectives. Right, there are different things they want to achieve, and things are not going the way they want. Right? So how do we resolve these conflicts? So this is what happens when we have two parties with opposing views or opposing needs. Now, based on your experience, what do you see are the most common conflicts? Right? Think about people you observe around you, okay? Or maybe even conflicts that you yourself have been involved in. Right, now, can you type in the chat box? So what are the most common conflicts that you see? Yeah, what you see around you. Okay, what are the most common conflicts that you see? Where to eat? Okay, indeed, when in the workplace, when lunchtime comes, I always ask my colleagues, hey, where you want to eat? Somewhere. Okay, for me, it's not so much of fighting over where to eat. Everyone also don't know what they want to eat. Yeah. So, but sometimes it can be a conflict. But if that is the worst conflict you have in your workplace, then you have a very good workplace. Yeah. Okay, fighting for the TV remote. Okay. If that is the worst conflict we have at home, then I think you have a pretty good home. Yeah. Okay, now discrimination. Nessa, thank you. Yeah. Discrimination in the workplace or even at school. Yeah. It can be something that is very severe, can have very severe impacts. Right? So if that is something that is causing conflict, certainly it is something that we have to address. Right? Misunderstanding, yeah, Zinchi, thank you. Yeah, so this is related to communication. If we do not communicate well, we will have misunderstanding, and then that is sometimes cause some conflicts, which is actually unnecessary. Ways to earn money. Okay, Alex is very practical. When we talk about money, definitely there will be a lot of conflict one, right? So if we are in a for-profit company, yeah, of course the management, the employees, they would have conflicts about, so what is the right thing that we should do? so that the company is profitable. Right? So very good. So these are some of the most common conflicts. Yep, different goals and visions in the team. Yep, that is indeed a cause of conflict. Right? Okay, now we have talked about what are the most common conflicts. Now next, let's think about, so what are the most damaging conflicts? Right? Now, of course, fighting over the TV remote, that's maybe not so bad, yeah, unless the two brothers end up fighting, huh? But normally it's not something very severe. Yeah? Or we are debating over what to eat today. That's not going to be a very damaging conflict, right? So what do you see around you that you find there are some conflicts which actually can cause a very deep impact, and can cause very bad damage? Yeah? Can you share in the chat box? So what do you think are the most damaging conflicts that you have seen, yeah? Or maybe you have involved in? Okay, fighting over who gave me COVID. Yeah. Okay. You know, my daughter just had a close contact with a friend who had COVID, right? So my daughter now is still under observation, but she has been 3-4 days now. So far, she doesn't have any symptoms. So I'm hopeful that she didn't have COVID right now. But it's very true, Rashad. So if let's say my daughter really got COVID, so am I going to blame her friend, yeah, who met up without doing self-check properly and gave COVID to my daughter? Yeah, let's say if my daughter got very sick, right? Yeah, so am I going to blame my daughter's friends' parents because they did not control their kids, yeah, and then now their kids spread the illness to my daughter, right? Indeed, that can be a very damaging conflict, right? Relationships, yes. Conflicts a lot of times is about relationships. Yeah, bad conflicts, it can break families, right? Yeah, bad conflicts, it can damage work relationships. Yeah, in future when we go to work, yeah, if you find that you cannot work with your supervisor, it's going to be very difficult for yourself and also for him or for her, right? If we don't resolve these conflicts. Yeah. Okay. True. Now, people not understand my point of view, Wing Yi. So this indeed can be a source of conflict, but it's also very important when people are not able to understand you. You also have to ask, are you able to understand their point of view as well, right? So this is always something that can be very challenging, right? Okay, Ubong, thank you. Yeah, when attacks get very personal, right? So indeed, this is something later we'll talk about. When we have conflicts, right, we have to avoid becoming very personal. We have to talk about the matter rather than the person. I don't want to have a conflict with you because I don't like you, right? It's not, especially in the workplace, it's not about whether I like you or not, right? We are here to do a job, so we need to discuss the matter. We don't discuss the person, right? Okay, very good. So you can see some of the most damaging conflicts, it is about relationships, right? When we damage relationships, be it our families or out in the workplace, right, or at school, then it is actually, there will be long-term impacts. Yeah, it will damage how well we work, how well we learn, right? Now, the third thing we want to think about is, what are the most poorly handled conflicts? Yeah, what are the most poorly handled conflicts? Now, by right, when we know some of the conflicts which are the most damaging, we should spend a lot of effort to resolve them, right? But sometimes you may notice that some of the worst conflicts are not actually handled very well. Yeah? Some very bad conflicts, right? Just now there was somebody has shared some of the worst conflicts is actually divorce, right? Divorce, it can be caused by husband and wife. There is some conflict, but they never resolve it, right? So after a few years, maybe that ends up in divorce. Yeah, so that impacts the children. Yeah, so sometimes we see there are conflicts, we know they are damaging, but they are not being resolved properly, right? Or we don't put the effort to do it. We don't try to find ways to resolve these conflicts. Yeah, so it's important for us, not only we need to be aware of what conflicts there are, but also we need to know when there is a conflict that needs to be resolved, we have to be conscious about resolving it. Okay, Yingyu has mentioned cutting off a relationship instead of resolving it. Yes, okay. Now, today, I'm not going to be a relationship advisor, yeah, okay. You can PM me if you need some relationship advice. Now, but cutting off a relationship, that can be, sometimes it can be something that you should do, but sometimes it may not be. So it depends a lot on what is your situation. Yeah, so I cannot comment whether it is the right thing or wrong thing to do. Sometimes people make that decision. But what is important is if we are in a relationship and we are thinking, is this something worth continuing on or not, right? So we have to apply some of these conflict resolution techniques to really help us go through this and then think through this. Yeah. Okay, so this is about conflicts. Now, one thing about conflict that is, but it's very important for us to know is we have to embrace conflict. Okay, now let me ask this question. Show of hands, how many of you like to face conflicts? How many of you like to face conflicts? Okay, Ying Yuan, okay, very bold. So you're a person who like to face conflicts. Wei En, thank you. Okay, so far, out of this room of now we have 47 people, we have maybe 2.5 people, okay, 3 people who like to face conflicts. So most of us are actually not comfortable with dealing with conflicts. Now, why is that? When we have a conflict, we get very upset, right? Yeah, so actually nobody is comfortable with dealing with conflicts. It is something that makes us upset, makes us sad, makes us angry. Yeah. But it is actually very important that we embrace conflict. Now imagine, okay, so let's say 3 years from now, you graduate, you go to work, you are assigned to a team to work together with. And some people you can get along with, some you can't, right? But you may not get to choose who you work with, right? And let's say you have a person you cannot work with, you don't like the style, right? Yeah? Or there are some of his or her values that you just cannot agree with. Now, if you do not resolve that conflict, then a day in, day out, you have to deal with him or deal with her, right? You're not going to be happy. He or she is not going to be happy. You are not going to be able to work very effectively, right? If you carry that burden every day with you. So that is why it is important for us to embrace conflict instead of we avoid it. Yeah. Now, even at home, right? So sometimes you find that when you are at home, if sometimes that what we do this is we see people fight. We don't like it. We just go to our room and close the door, right? Yeah. But sometimes it's important for us to realize that we have to embrace conflict. We have to resolve it rather than just leave it be. Right? So this is the importance of embracing conflict. We know, especially in future, let's say when you go to work, right? When you get put into a team, there will be people from so many different backgrounds, right? Maybe this person has come from a different race, right? A different state, a different country. Yeah, because people come from so many different families, they have different upbringing. The way they think, the way they behave will be different. Right? So we cannot expect to go to a place where everyone thinks like us. And that actually is not actually a good thing. Because if we only deal with people who think the same way, we will never learn, we will never grow. So embracing conflict is about getting to know people, building the trust, yeah, reaching understanding, so that there is an agreed way that we can work together, that we can cooperate and do our work together. So that is why when you join a new team, usually there will be a time where you need to get those things out of the way first, build the trust, build the relationship, and then that team can work effectively together. So this is the importance of embracing conflict. Now let's talk about resolving conflicts. Yeah. Now resolving conflicts here, I'm talking about when you have a conflict with another person. Okay, something you don't agree on, you think it should be done this way, the other person thinks it should be done a different way. Okay, one of the first things you have to think about is how do you find common ground? Okay, how do you find common ground? Now, let's say your position is you think this certain thing should be done this way. The other person wants to do it this way. Now, if you are very insistent on it should be this way, the other person very insistent is this way, you will never meet, right? And so because you think this is wrong, he thinks this is wrong. You will never meet. So what you have to do is you have to take a step back and think about what is a common ground, right? What is a goal which both of you want to achieve, right? What is the bigger goal? And now let me give an example. Yeah. Now imagine at a company, this company is produces goods and sells to customers, right? So they're a manufacturer, so they have a warehouse, right? Now imagine one person is the warehouse manager, the other person is a sales manager. Okay, so one day the sales manager, he has some big clients, right? So he serves them. He brings one of the clients to the factory, to the warehouse, yeah, for a visit, right? And this really impresses the client, right? And this is a long-time client, a big client, right? Now this sales manager sees and this client says, hey, actually this product I'm running low. I actually need to restock. I need to buy. I need to buy this batch that you have. Can you just deliver to me? Now the sales manager will say that, yes, of course. Let me arrange. I will do this. Right? From the sales manager's perspective, he wants to serve this customer well, and this is an order. This is one big batch of order. He's helping the company to make money. Of course, the sales manager wants to do that. Of course, he says yes. Now, but think about the warehouse manager. Okay. Now, the warehouse manager now comes up to the sales manager and says, hey, no. You cannot simply let the client take this batch because this batch just completed. We haven't done our QA yet. Right? We haven't done the inspection. So we don't know when. But by procedure, we should do this before we can release this. Also, we need to enter this into our system, right? So that we have our stock tracking must be correct. Yeah? Because if we don't have that, then there may be issues with, let's say, other sales managers when they order products for their customers, and then they think it's in stock, but it's not in stock. Then we get into all these problems. We are late in delivering to other clients and so on. Yeah. So the warehouse manager is very insistent. No, you cannot take it. Must do QA. Must enter the system. Must go through proper process. Okay. Now let me ask you. Please type in the chat box. Do you think the sales manager is correct or the warehouse manager is correct? If you think the sales manager is correct, type sales. If you think the warehouse manager is correct, type warehouse. Who do you think is correct? Warehouse, okay. Okay, warehouse, 3 votes. Okay, more. Okay. Okay, so far most of you support the warehouse manager. Okay. Anyone supporting the sales manager? Okay, kesian the sales manager. Okay. Now, what I will tell you is, in this question, there is actually no right or wrong answer. Right? There is no right or wrong answer. Now, but in this scenario, so what is what will be the common ground? Okay, so type in the chat box, what do you think is the common ground that these two people want? Yeah, you see just now when I described this scenario, both of them have very different opinions. Yeah, and both are the opinions are correct. Yeah, those both opinions are valid. Right? So if they very insist on their way of doing things, they cannot get a resolution. So what do you think is the common ground that they can go for? Yeah? Can you type in the warehouse type in the chat box? What do you think is the common ground? Anyone? Money. Okay. Wei Hen is very practical. In the end, it's about money. Okay, true. That can be one. Okay, Ubong, thank you. Yeah, sending to the client in small batches. It is a resolution. Yeah. But that may not be a common ground thing. Yeah. Okay, Ying Yuan, thank you. Yeah, postponing that is a way to resolve, but that may not be, that is not a common ground they want to achieve. Okay, Zinji having SOPs. Well, the warehouse manager is very insistent on the SOP. There are SOPs, right? But in this scenario, when the sales manager say, "Hey, I'm trying to make money for a company, yeah, so I break the SOP a little bit," you cannot say it is necessarily wrong, right? Okay. Now, for example, let's say the company now is going through a difficult time because of MCO, right? So you can make a big sale is actually very important, right? So then what the sales manager suggests, that might be the right thing to do, right? Okay. If we want to find a common ground, okay, so now money is one, right? What Wei Hen said, money is the common ground. So if uh if the let's say today I'm the CEO, I walk into this situation, I see the warehouse manager and the sales manager fighting, right? Now I come to them, I say, hey, the company now, tight situation, we can make money, we have to prioritize making money. And so now, of course, in this case, I am kind of siding with the sales manager, right? Yeah. But I can explain to the warehouse manager, hey, I know you're trying to do a good job, right? But we need to understand ultimately whether it's managing the stock well, managing quality well, or whether it is giving convenience and serving the customer quickly. Both of them, they are for the sake of helping the company make money, right? The common ground is the money, right? So the warehouse manager said, okay, we understand. So that is the goal. Now, so then he can see, okay, maybe I need to let go a bit of my SOP. Now, so I may try other ways. So for example, let's say we give part of the stock to the customer, but some we send later. That can be a way, right? So the warehouse manager kind of gives in a little bit, right? Because we know what the common ground is. Now, sometimes it is also possible he may completely give in his position and agree with the common ground. Right? So the common ground is important because if these two parties fight in their positions, we cannot get the resolution. We need to find something that is where they can see it is more important than what their current position is. Right? So this is the common ground. Now, of course, in this scenario, another common ground it may be that we need to provide quality service to our customer. Right? So that can be a goal of the organization. Right? So in this case, we may say that, yes, we have to insist we must do the QA, and then we must do the proper stock check, enter into the system before we can release. Right? So then we may actually convince the sales manager, because of this, we are a brand that is a long-time brand. We cannot compromise on that. So we ask the sales manager to describe to the client, hey, this batch, because we haven't done the QA, we want to make sure we give you quality product. So we must do this. But let me arrange, within 2 days, I will get this batch of products shipped to you. Let's say at our cost, right? So that's something that you can do. But this is the resolution, right? So we have to be clear. The resolution and the common ground are different things, yeah? You have to find your common ground, which is something that the two parties both want to achieve, right? So once you have that, then you can talk about, so what is the actual solution, right? Okay, so this is the common ground. Okay, any questions so far? If any questions, you can type in the chat box or you can raise your hand. You can unmute to ask. Okay, everyone okay? If okay, can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. All right. Okay, I will proceed, yeah? Now, the next one is when we are in a conflict, we need to analyze the unmet expectations. Okay, now this is a very important concept. When we ourselves, we have a conflict with another person, for us, we may have some expectations which are implicit that we might not even realize it ourselves, right? So analyzing the unmet expectations is not just about trying to analyze the other person, it is also about reflecting upon ourselves, right? Now, when somebody is unhappy or when we are unhappy, often it comes down to something that we expect it should be like this, right? But it is not like this, so we are unhappy, right? Okay, now let me give this example. Okay, imagine, okay, let's say my parents at home, father and mother, okay, always have conflict because my mother always say to my father, hey, yeah, you never help with the housework one lah, right? So, and always nag, and then sometimes they fight over this, right? And then my father will complain, yeah, hey, I already help do this, I do that. Yeah, so every weekend I mow the lawn, right? And then every week I already 3 times I vacuum the house, right? Why you say I never help with the housework, right? So there's a conflict. Yeah, but when you hear it like this, it's like both sides they have their point. Yeah, my mom complains, but my father actually has done it. Right? So then we try to understand deeper. So what is the unmet expectation? Now I may realize that actually, sometimes when my mother is cooking, then she gets very upset. Yeah, because she feels that when she's cooking, she's always the only person in the kitchen, very busy. Yeah, and then in the kitchen it's very hot, right? So and my father is not helping her with the cooking. Yeah, so she feels it's something that she's doing alone. She gets no support, right? So that is something that frustrates her. And for her, when she communicates that, she says, "Yeah, your father never helped with the housework, never helped around the house, right?" So if that is the unmet expectation, now if my father is very smart, so he will pay attention when he sees my mother go to the kitchen to cook. Now my father don't know how to cook. Okay, but let's say my father is just very smart, go to the kitchen and say, hey, anything I can help. Okay, now that can make a big difference, right? Because my mother will feel the unmet expectation is that she's doing something alone and nobody is there to help her. Right? So if she feels somebody is there to help her, then she's probably happy already. So if my father simply goes and says, hey, anything I can help, right? So maybe my mother say, oh, actually, I'm cooking now. There are some dishes I need you to wash. Do the dishes for me, and then that's all. Go away, right? Don't kacau me when I'm cooking. Right? So and then maybe my father just needs to spend 5 minutes washing some of the dirty dishes, and then he can go away and read the newspaper or watch TV, right? Something as simple as that. Yeah, so sometimes when we want to resolve a conflict, it is about digging a bit deeper, understanding what are the unmet expectations. When we know what is the unmet expectations, we can assess first, is that something that is fair? Right? If it's something that is fair, that we can fulfill, right? Why not do it? Right? Now, or sometimes if it is something that is quite unfair. Now, just now we talked about communication, right? Yeah. If we find out something that's unfair, that's something that we can talk to other person. Right? So do you expect me to do this and this? Yeah. So and I can say, I don't think this is very fair to me. Right. So but at least when you really understand the underlying problem, the underlying expectation, that's when you can do something or you can discuss better. Yeah? So always look beyond the surface, what people are complaining about, what people are fighting about, and try to understand what is the unmet expectation. Okay. Now, this one I'm talking about the unmet expectation of the other person. Okay. Now, we also need to reflect ourselves, right? So now imagine, yeah, for me, let's say I have a in a relationship, okay, let's say boyfriend girlfriend. Yeah. So sometimes let's say I'm very something. Sometimes I'm just very upset with my girlfriend, and then I feel she doesn't take care of me, yeah, or she doesn't give me face, for example, right? And when I feel so uncomfortable, I need to think. So why do I feel that way? Yeah, what is something uh, that I actually expect her to do so that I feel better? And then I need to reflect on myself. Is that expectation valid or not? Is that expectation fair to her or not? And so it's not just about us understanding other people's unmet expectations. We also need to look at our own unmet expectations and see whether is that something that's reasonable or not. Right? So now when in a conflict, when both parties can look at and understand these unmet expectations, that's when you can communicate better. And that's when sometimes when you understand what is actually needed, you can do, right? Because when you don't know what is it actually that you need to do, you can't do it, right? Because sometimes when people ask us to do something, just like the example with my mother asking my father to do housework, yeah, he's already doing it, but he's very frustrated because he does, but she's still unhappy, right? Yeah, so sometimes when we don't know what is the actual thing we need to do, of course we're not going to get any results. Okay, so this is how we use and understand the unmet expectations. All right. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, if good, can you give me a thumbs up? Or any questions you can put into the chat box. Okay, thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Esther. Okay, I will proceed, yeah? Now, the next one is about empathy and understanding emotions. Okay, when we are in a conflict, what do we feel? Okay, can you type in the chat box when you yourself imagine a conflict that you have had recently, right? When you are yourself are in that conflict, what are the feelings that you feel? Can you type in the chat box? What do you feel when you are in the? You feel frustrated? Yeah, Yuan Yin, thank you. Okay, thank you, Lian. You feel very frustrated. You feel upset. Yeah, upset and frustrated. What are the other emotions that you feel? Anyone else? What do you feel when you yourself are caught in a conflict? Okay, other than frustrated. Okay, angry, yes. Oh, Alex is bored. Okay, Alex, can you explain why do you feel bored when you are in a conflict? Alex, you can type or you can unmute to say it if it's faster. Okay, why do you feel bored when you are in a conflict? Okay, so Alex, understand, yeah? You feel bored. Basically, in Chinese, we say, 哎呀好闲啊, right? Something, it's happening again, I need to do this again. Yeah, so I think that's also what Ubong and Wei Hen feel. Sometimes you just feel very tired. You have to go through this problem all over again, right? Okay, true. Or feeling disappointed, yes. Okay, so all of these are emotions that we feel when we get caught in a conflict. Okay, now next question I want to ask you, please type in the chat box. Now, from the people that we need to deal with, okay, how many percentage of people do you find are emotional people? Okay, now just think about the people around yourself. Yeah, your other your classmates or family. Yeah, people around you. What percentage of people do you think are emotional people? Can you type in the chat box? What do you think? 85%. Okay. 100%, 50%, 80%. Okay, you find the people around you. Okay, Wing Yi. Okay, 30%. Okay, most of your friends are very cool-headed. Everyone, Yuan Yin. Okay, 30. Okay, so we have a big range of numbers. Thank you, Farah. 70. Okay, the people around us, all of them are emotional. It is 100%. Everyone is a bit emo. Yeah, of course, some can be a bit more than others, but all of us, we have to remember all humans are emotional, right? Emotions is something that helps us survive, right? As a species, if we don't have emotions, those humans who have no emotion, they would have died in the African grassland. Yeah, if you're not afraid of lions, you don't know how to run away, you get eaten by lions, right? So emotions is something that's natural. So all of us are emotional. Yeah, it's just different things will trigger us. Of course, some people are more emotional than others, but we have to remember everyone has emotions. Nobody can be 100% cool-headed all the time, right? So when we are in a conflict, we need to appreciate what the other person is feeling, right? We need to have empathy. We need to understand their emotions. Now, sometimes in a conflict, we may not have a solution that can please the person, right? But if we can show that we understand their emotion, we understand why they are frustrated, and of course we have to be sincere about it, that can also help, right? Now let me give you this example. As a company, right? So let's say all the while for the past 10 years, I always give out 3 months bonus, right? Okay, now this year, yeah, because MCO, the business goes down, I only give 1 month of bonus. Now some of my staff, they for them the bonus is actually very important, yeah, because some of them they financially they're quite tight, yeah. So when we give bonus, this is Chinese New Year time, they want to give a big ang bao to their parents, right? So if we only give 1 month bonus, wow, for them it's actually very tight, and they're also very disappointed because over past 10 years always is 3 months, and in the past 1 year, all of them have been working hard because it has been very tough. They work so hard, wow, but they get less bonus, right? That's very difficult for them, right? And so when they are upset, can we understand? Yes, we can understand why they're upset, right? So now, of course, one way of dealing with this, let's say I have a staff that comes to me and tells me he's not happy with the bonus. Now, if I tell him, hey, our company also doing so bad, what do you expect? You take it or leave it lah, right? If that's the way I say it, okay, what will you feel? Can you type in the chat box? If I am your boss, I talk like that to you, what do you feel? What do you feel? Type in the chat box. Feel very disrespected, unappreciated. Yes, very important. Unappreciated, right? Yeah, not being understood. Correct. Exactly. Right. Now, of course, I can take it another way, right? The person comes to me. Okay, I sit down with him calmly, yeah, and patient really talk to him, right? So if I tell him, yes, I understand because always we try to give you guys good bonus so that because this is Chinese New Year time, yeah, when you go back to hometown, you want to bring a good gift for your parents, right? And I know it's a difficult time, and especially now is a difficult time. The more they want to help their parents, right? So we understand that. Now, if I tell people that I show that I understand why they are so concerned, okay, first thing is when they feel they are heard, they are understood, then they are more willing to also understand our position, right? Now, I may not be able to do anything. I cannot say, let's say company, I don't even have the money to pay a bit more, top up the bonus. I can't, right? Right? But if I tell them, so this is I understand your situation, but I also hope you can understand the company's situation. Yeah? For example, I say the company, the past year, because of MCO, even when we work so hard, we are actually still making a loss. Right? So despite making a loss, we still try to give 1 month bonus because we know it's important for you. But we also hope staff can also understand the company situation. Yeah, during the MCO, we did not fire anybody. We did not cut the pay, right? And we still try to give bonus. We hope the staff will appreciate, and then we'll still continue to work with us and try to get through this difficult time. Right? So if I take that approach, so you can see the difference, right? Yeah, I'm not changing anything, right? In terms of action, there's no change in action, right? Because I can't, yeah, I don't have the money to pay more bonus to my staff. But by understanding their difficulty and trying to help, right, then that's something by understanding, that's when you also make the staff more willing to listen to your perspective, right? For example, I may even find a way, okay, let's do it this way, because Chinese New Year, maybe I give you an advance, right? It's just that I pay the next month's salary a bit earlier to you. Yeah? In the end, to the company is maybe it impacts the cash flow a little bit, yeah? But to the company, the salary is still the same. It's just that I pay a little bit earlier. So maybe that helps, right? So when you are sincerely trying to help the other person, then people will appreciate it, and that's how you can help to reduce the impact of that conflict. Okay, so having empathy and understanding the other person's emotions is very important. Okay? And never let conflict get personal. We talked about this just now, right? Yeah. Especially at work, right? At work, we are here to do work. Yeah? Even if I don't like you or you don't like me, but we still need to find a way to resolve it. So when you resolve a conflict, sometimes when you are in projects, I'm sure all of you here have been in school projects before. Sometimes you get into some teams where you cannot stand a certain person, right? You feel like you want to strangle the person. But we still need to find ways to not get very personal. It's not about the person. It's about what is the right thing to do as a team, yeah, or as a group, right? So we should never let conflicts get personal. Now, if all else fails, you have a conflict with that person, you cannot sort it out. Of course, one more way is you can escalate it. Is there somebody else you can talk to? Right? So now, when you want to escalate it, you should find a person that is not just the person that you trust, but also someone that the other person trusts. Right? So in a work environment, maybe if you have a conflict with your team member, a fellow team member, then maybe you're going to talk to your supervisor. Right? Now, if let's say you have a conflict with your supervisor, maybe you need to ask HR to step in, yeah, to help you resolve this conflict. Now, one thing very important is when you escalate, you have to be ready to accept the results. Yeah? So let's say you say, let's escalate this to HR department. Okay? And then HR, they talk to you guys and then say, okay, let's do it this way. And then you say, no, I don't agree. Then what is the point of escalating? Yeah? If you escalate to somebody, both parties agree, let's do it. But after that, then you refuse to accept the outcome. Right? Then waste of time. Right? So escalate is a one way to do it. It can help because there's a third party in now, but just be prepared to accept the results or the judgment of that third party. Right? So this can be useful because this third party, it would be something that the other person you are having conflict with also trusts. Right? So that's how you can use this to help you resolve that conflict.